You're listening to the Port City Podcast, where Portsmouth businessmen and women take the mic. Now on to the show with your hosts, Ben Van Camp and Jen Stevens.
Right.
Anyway, enough.
Are we
of that.
rolling it? You know, I always like these things
I don't want to be
when
caught.
they just sort of start.
Yeah, let's
Just sort of start.
Yeah.
You know, without a formal like music and
Bum,
all
bum,
that stuff.
bum.
And, hey,
All right,
man,
well,
what are we doing?
Let's just jump into it.
Yeah.
Then.
All right,
Here we
let's
are,
try
Port
it.
City
Yeah.
Podcast, episode 8, I think.
Yeah.
We got David J. Murray here, Jen's here, all the cool people are here, so we're ready to just dive right into it.
Cool.
David, tell us about yourself.
Oh, wait, I want to start.
Oh, you want to start?
yeah.
Do it.
I want to say, when we were going to try to get you on our vlog, video podcast, I just wrote a bunch of questions about the drone, because you are the drone man to me. And Ben is like, he's a photographer. So what are you actually?
Oh, what am I actually? Well, so I'm a photographer. Ben's right.
Boom.
Yeah. I mean, this is, I use drones, which I think of as flying cameras, as one of the many kinds of cameras I get to use, because I'm actually really a geek, is what it is. So I love camera gear and stuff like that, but I also love using it. So the reason that I have a drone and that I'm the drone guy is that I'm a photographer and I'm short. So that's basically, so I need a drone to sort of get up there and yeah.
Don't you have like some kind of, there was something years ago at Prescott Park and there was like a big pole or something. Was that you?
Yeah. I used to have a van that had a pole that it was an extendable mast. And I could put a camera up 75 feet.
Really?
And I had a little workstation inside the van where I could see what the camera was seeing and I could control everything and take pictures. And the reason I did that was because I was flying remote controlled aircraft and drones, quadcopters, and taking pictures. But at the time, the FAA prohibited the commercial use of drones. So I put that van together and used it to establish myself with the realtors and the builders and the architects, and took pictures knowing that eventually I'd be able to legally use a drone instead. So it was kind of like dial-up and the drone's broadband, it sort of just let me establish myself before it was legal. But it was just to get positioned, and thank goodness I found somebody to buy that van, and I don't have it anymore. It was really weird. I mean, the van was
It was like publicity for you, though.
Well, yeah. I mean, it had this kind of cool little. I mean, it looked weird. It had a platform on the top, and then this thing sticking up, and my wife made very lewd comments about that thing sticking up at the top because it had a little cover at the end. And can you cut that from the? Yeah, I mean it was. And the thing was that it was the Condor. That's what I
that
called
was the
it.
type.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what you called it.
Yeah, and if you change that R, like
Right,
that's the
yeah.
first. Yeah, I'm not going to spell that out,
This
but
is
it's actually
good,
the
yeah.
first half of another letter.
Really? Oh.
It was. She said, yeah, if the elevated photography business doesn't work, you can just repurpose the van and finish the letter.
Yep.
And you got a prop on the top, and yeah.
So your wife is crafty too.
My wife is
Yeah.
way smarter than I am.
Do you have a nickname for this particular drone?
You know, women ask me that, and guys never ask me that. So, and I even I was doing a shoot for an archaeologist recently, and she asked me if I had a name. The answer was no, and then she told me about there was an archaeology department at another university, and they had a drone, and they called it Indiana Drone.
Oh.
And that's
so
such a high
cute.
bar.
Yeah.
So, I thought, well, I could come up with a cute, Huck,
Oh yeah.
high up camera or something. But no, I mean,
Yeah, you'll never
after
beat
you've
that.
heard Indiana Drone, it's
run. They run.
yeah. So this is my 6th commercial quality photographic drone, and I could call it 6 or something.
Well, speaking of names, isn't there something Ben was supposed to ask about?
Well, I want to know, because you are very kind and generous to our organization. You let us use a lot of your photography and a lot of your videos, and we always give you try to always give you the appropriate photo credits. And it's always David J. Murray, and I'm always curious what was the J and why the J?
Yeah. Anybody who has licensed images from me knows that I'm kind of a pain about the J.
particular. I wouldn't say
Particular.
pain.
Yeah, well, yeah, particular. That's good. I'm going to remember that word. Particular, better than a pain. So it turns out there's another David Murray who's a photographer who works in the area.
Oh, really?
And he predates me.
Okay.
He's fabulous. And he's a wedding photographer.
Okay.
So it's
and you
David
don't
Murray.
do weddings.
Yeah,
like, that's
and
not your thing,
it's
right?
a perfect thing because
Right.
when people normally ask me, like, well, what kind of photography you do? I say anything but weddings.
Right.
Because weddings is, wow, you have to be a
Yeah.
totally different kind of person to do a wedding.
Right.
So David Murray is a wedding photographer, and I think he's based in Agunquit or
Okay.
Kennebunkport area.
Right.
And he's world famous.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah. So people call me, saying, or they tell me they love this photo that they have seen that
Yeah, you shot
of
my
this
friend's
beautiful.
wedding.
Yeah. And it's not me. It's not
Yeah.
me, folks. It's not me. But then again, I understand he gets some calls. So
Right.
so I will send people
you met
there.
him?
No, I haven't.
Oh, man, you guys should connect.
No, we should meet. But we have traded some emails.
Okay.
A long time. It's been a long time. But anyway, in my, I try to have little collateral damage to my work. So I always want to protect him from people thinking that he took any bad photos they see that are attributed to me.
I doubt that's the
So I do David J. Murray, and
Yeah.
he uses David Murray, and I always use Clear Eye Photo
Right.
just to avoid confusion.
Yeah.
That's
sure.
the reason. So thank you for asking.
No, and I'm curious, did the photography start out as a hobby for you?
Yes, yeah. I had this whole other 2 careers
Right.
before I retired from the second one after 30 years.
What was that?
Flute.
Yes.
No. So the first career was I was a musician and a music professor. So I
you're
did
a
like all my
professor.
undergraduate, master's, doctoral studies in music.
Yeah.
All thinking I'm going to be a music professor. And I met my wife in a program, and she's thinking she's going to be a music professor. So we both became college music teachers, not full professors, but college music teachers in Southern California after
Sounds
grad school.
ideal. Yeah.
We were starving.
I was going to say,
Hey,
Southern
Be-
California is
be an English
Darling.
major.
Yeah, well, I had done this lucky. So I actually taught at Cal State Northridge, music theory, ear training.
Yep.
Kate was teaching at UCLA because she's smarter than I am, and yeah. And by the way, you should always say that if you're married.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Okay, but it's true in my case. But I had minored in computer science when I was doing my doctoral studies, and so basically I kind of woke up one day and I said, this is really not the life I envisioned, because we were so strapped for money. And it was a combination of the fact that the teaching position didn't pay well and that it was so expensive to live in LA.
Right.
Okay.
And that we were working at places 70 miles apart with
yeah.
crazy wacko
Yeah.
traffic in between.
Commutes.
And we wanted to start a family and all that. So, I think it's fine. People can have a fine life as a music professor, but it just wasn't working for us. So, especially since I had studied computer science. So I went looking to see what computer programmers made.
Yeah.
And that was an eye-opener. I had studied computer science to apply it to music and music teaching, music composition. But back in 1978, I switched from doing music to being a programmer. And then I had this 30-year career, ended up in Silicon Valley, started a couple of companies, took it public, That was all good. And I retired from all that in 2008. And I was doing photography as an avid enthusiast. And someone asked me to do some photography that was commercial in nature. And somehow that became this crazy full-time job I have now, because now I'm a full-time commercial photographer.
Yeah.
And that's what I do. And the drone is just one tool.
So my question that I ask a lot of people, when you took your hobby and you made it a job, do you still enjoy it as much as you did when it was a hobby? Like if you had a day off, would you choose to go shoot something or take photos, or is it strictly work now?
Well, it's definitely not strictly work.
Okay.
The reason I do this is because I love it.
Yeah.
At this point, you're in what they call it an encore career.
Right.
My computer science and Silicon Valley work gave me some financial flexibility.
Yeah.
So I could be doing anything
Right.
that I'd want to be doing. I could be retired, but I love what I do.
Yeah.
So I don't actually draw a big distinction between most of the photo shoots that I do and fun.
Okay.
I mean, most of them are fun.
Yeah.
But I go out and shoot whether if someone isn't paying me, I still go out and shoot.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
I definitely do
Good.
that. I do other things for fun too, but that's personal. So
There we go.
yeah.
Awesome.
Do you give lessons?
Generally not. I taught a photography class at PMAC a couple of years ago. And I think I kind of drove the students crazy because I'm really technical.
Oh, well,
And I
you're-
probably dived a little deeper than they wanted to. I really like people to understand things. Drives my wife crazy. So it's like, I want to teach you how to fish. I don't want to teach you, give you a fish. And so, like when I started teaching digital photography, I started off talking about how a digital sensor works.
Oh.
Yeah. So, I wasn't asked back.
I was just going to say that, but I'm like, don't say that.
So I would say that, I would think that the computer programming background and your love of photography and videography comes together pretty nicely in this drone world where there's computer programming and do you do any of that or do you just buy off the shelf stuff?
Oh, well, yeah. So when I started flying drones, there wasn't
Right.
good off-the-shelf stuff, and it was a perfectly natural thing for
Right.
me to, buy parts, assemble them, put them together, get the code, modify the code to do
Yeah.
what I wanted it to do, attach a GoPro or something,
Right.
and even try to put a Nikon camera in the air, which
Yeah.
was scary back then.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was kind of like, it really reminded me of the personal computer days back in the early, like
People were building
when
their
there
own
was the Apple
computers.
I
I had
and
an
the Kim
Apple II
computer.
Plus.
Yeah,
Grew up with
yeah.
that.
When you were 3 or 1?
No.
Okay, we're not
middle
going there.
school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So as soon as I said that, I was like, danger. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I loved it. But now the things you can buy, the flying cameras you can buy, are so good
Yeah.
that there's no reason to
monkey
solder
with it,
stuff
yeah.
together
Yeah.
for me. Although I still I'll hang 360 cameras off of this, and that's there's no hobbyist thing going on there other than figuring out how to attach it.
Right. How do you mount the camera
it?
and get the controls?
But and the other day I needed pinpoint accuracy for my altitude, and this tells me how high it is, but it's plus or minus a foot or two. And the person said, no, we need to know. We want you to be 48 feet. It's got to be 48 feet. So I attached a laser measurer to
Okay.
it, and I put a little camera on it. So I could see the
what-
readout. First, I tried putting the laser measurer on the ground,
Right.
and flying over it, hitting the drone.
Yeah, that's probably not
Windy. No, that really required it was just too much time getting the drone back in position.
Right.
Because even a little drifting around was a problem. So I said, okay, I'll put the measurer on the drone, point down at the ground. So we got like inch accuracy.
Nice.
The manufacturer said 1/8 inch accuracy, but I don't know about that. But but yeah, I mean, I still do some of that stuff,
Cool.
but it's mostly off-the-shelf stuff now.
Yeah.
How many of the local drone people, like, do you know, like, a bunch of them? And do you ever chat about drones, or does any?
Yeah. I do know a lot of the other guys. I was one of the earliest guys who was doing this. When the FAA finally created a program where you could get a license under what's called the Part 107 rule, and the first day you could take the test was right at the end of like August 28th or 29th or something, and I took the test that week and had my Part 107 certificate among the earliest that you could do that. And before that, there was a different kind of authorization you could fly under that I had. And so I've been doing this a long time, and a lot of people have come over to me and asked me about it and then gotten drones. I have a lot of competitors in the market who were spurred to get their drones because I was using my drone. And I mean, now everybody does it. I mean, they're
Did you
everywhere.
have to go somewhere special and like maneuver your drone in front of somebody to pass a test?
No, that's a
was it-
strange thing. The FAA's test is a knowledge test.
Okay.
And it's basically the same knowledge test. It's called the Airman Knowledge Test. It's the same test that a pilot has to pass, like a manned aircraft pilot for recreational flying.
Oh, okay.
There's an air knowledge portion of that test. In order to get your a recreational pilot's license, you actually have to go up and fly.
I hope so, yes.
This is safer for me, right? Because if there's a problem, I still live. But that's what you have to do. And nobody tests your ability to fly.
So have you ever crashed? Or is that
We're on video.
Oh, is that a bad thing?
No.
Was I told not to ask that?
Absolutely. I mean, if you haven't made a mistake, that's how you learn, right?
Right.
So, but I have never crashed this drone
Okay.
or any drone that cost more than $60.
So some cost as little as like $60.
The way that I recommend, there are simulators, but the way that I recommend people learn to fly a drone is to go out and get there's a company called Hubsan.
Hubsan?
Yeah, they make little fun to fly drones, and they
Yeah.
have prop guards around them, and
Right.
you can get them on Amazon for $40 to $60, and the controls basically work the same way, but they're harder to fly than these because they're not as sophisticated. So you fly those around your house, and you try not to crash into walls, and the first time you fly them, you do crash into the wall and into your dog
The cat,
who's jumping at it and stuff like that. So you learn to fly those around, and once you can do that, then you can graduate to something like this. You asked me to bring the drones.
I did ask.
Yeah.
He does not carry them everywhere he goes.
And
but
I just wanted to show you sort of the difference. Like this is what most people who are hobbyists would get is something like this, and this is called a Mavic, and you can see I just opened it up sort of like a transformer, and you can compare the size
Yeah.
here. It's like,
Yeah.
and the camera that's on here, which is an interchangeable camera on my bigger drone, costs more than this entire thing. But these fly really well, and they're easy to fly, and they have this teeny little camera under the guard, but yeah, you graduate to one of these and you take them out in the field and you learn how to fly. When you buy them, they usually give you lots of extra props.
Right.
Because the thing that breaks most often is you hit the ground with a prop, or you hit a wall or a tree with a prop. But when I first started doing this, the drones did not know how to detect what was around them. Now you actually,
now they do?
Now they have obstacle avoidance technology. So you actually have to work hard to crash them into things.
Interesting.
And the only, you have to turn off the default settings, because
Okay.
sometimes they won't let you go where you can go.
Right.
Like in between things, or flying really close to a building you're trying to inspect,
Yeah.
and they'll go, no, and they'll beeping at you. So you turn that off. But what was it? I don't remember what I was
I never really
saying.
thought about using
Interesting.
it from an inspection standpoint, like you just said. That's probably a really great way to inspect something that's hard to kinda get to, like a water tower or something like that, or whatever. Like a
Power
tall building.
lines,
Yeah.
roofs.
I guess I never really gave that much thought.
It's a whole different industry.
Yeah.
Drones are used for precision agriculture. Is what it's called. It's a huge field, and search and rescue, and
Yeah. I've read some
also.
of that stuff.
So as a photographer, I'm just in one corner of the drone
Right.
world.
Cool.
Would they ever let you near that naval prison with a drone?
The Navy base itself is a no-fly zone.
Right.
But
That's like a thing.
Right.
Whole
It's a
base.
no-fly zone.
Right.
But right next to the naval base is not a no-fly zone.
so have you done that over?
I have flown
Okay.
near the naval base, but I have way too much money and in terms of equipment and
Yeah.
marketing effort invested in my use of drones to screw around with breaking the law.
Oh, well, I didn't want you to
so-
break the law. I just
yeah,
thought like, I'm trying to think, where on the seacoast haven't you gone that you might like to go, that you're legally allowed to, I guess?
Yeah, I'd love to fly around the prison
Yeah.
like close up, but I have not done that. I haven't asked for permission to do that.
But now that they're watching this, I'm sure they will give you permission.
You think they are?
Well, they will once we get it out there.
Yeah,
gov?
yeah. Well, you know, I did get I get calls from
The government?
So you know the TV show NCIS?
Yeah.
It blew my mind to find out that that's a real thing.
Yeah, I really
That's
do.
the
haven't
Naval
watched it.
Crimes Investigative
Investigative something.
Service or
Services,
something
yeah.
like that.
It's like the naval police.
Yeah.
On the
So
investigation side.
you don't want to get a
No,
voicemail
no,
that
that's
says, "Hello,
bad.
Mr. Murray. This is Sean O'Hannessy from NCIS. You know, please call."
Okay.
I have gotten that call,
Okay.
and it wasn't Sean O'Hannessy, but you
Okay.
know, it was.
And they didn't want you on an assignment. They were just kind
No, they wanted to find out whether I was the person who had been flying the drone in a scary, inappropriate location.
And you were glad to report you were not that
I
person.
was glad to report that I'm not, and
Oh, good.
And not only could I report that I wasn't that drone operator, but at least the drones that I use record everything you do,
Right.
all your flight
So
paths.
there's like a log, yeah.
And there's a log, and it's like everything you do, stick motions, and so it's not hard to substantiate that you weren't flying there.
of. Did you get to rat out what it was, maybe?
I didn't know. I
Okay.
didn't know. That's a lot. People will say, "Were you the drone that I saw doing X?" An example is during the Parade of Sail. So I was the official photographer for the Piscataqua Maritime
okay.
Commission, who puts on the Parade of Sail. I saw 5 drones
Right.
while I was there. As far as I knew, I was the only one with authorization from the Coast Guard, and all that, so that everybody, and from the Port Authority and all the security people knew that I was flying, and they knew what boat I was operating from. And I said, "Is anyone else cleared?" And they said no, that I knew of, but there were other people. I think maybe the guys who were doing, there was a really cool video taken from the life-saving station.
Oh.
That might have been coordinated too, because they exchanged fire. So Jim might have exchanged.
The Renegade drones should wear like bandanas or something. so
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. Good suggestion. Can we get this off the table? I'm feeling
Yeah.
like, thank you.
Yeah.
My drone was,
Is it like one-upping you?
it just, I don't know.
Okay.
We can leave that.
Okay.
Well,
that's all good.
so you shoot a lot of places in town. You do a lot of work for the music hall, and you're a music fan. Have you ever had the opportunity to like meet cool people that are playing there? Do you get to like go backstage and like meet people, or
Sally
how does that
Struthers?
work? Do you?
Just kidding.
Because I've been at shows like in the audience, and then like you come down the aisle, take some pictures, and go back, and then you're like 50 people away, so I don't get to say hello. But
Yeah.
I would think you being a music fan, that'd be fun stuff to shoot. No?
Yeah. It's like the only way I'm ever going to get on the stage with Herbie Hancock.
Yeah.
It is. I'm not, able to perform with Herbie, but yeah. So Herbie Hancock was a fabulous experience.
Cool.
The access that I get, I mean, I'm the music hall's house photographer
Right.
normally. That's a formal relationship I have with them. And I should say, by the way, that the original deal I had with the chamber was not a donation. That was actually a business relationship.
Oh,
So,
well,
So let's put that in
and
bold.
it kind of goes on.
Renegotiate that. or
Yeah.
something, right?
But the music hall, it's a formal relationship, and what I'm going to do is completely controlled by them and the artist. And the music hall people love to come and perform at the music hall because it's a great space and because the audience is great, and they also love it because the management of the music hall treats them very well. So they have a really good feel for what makes performers comfortable backstage. And part of that is that there isn't a photographer in their face. Now, some people are perfectly comfortable with a photographer being backstage. like Chris Bodie, for example, he was just like, yeah, cool, yeah, photographer. And I was backstage, and I just met him, and some friends came back to see him that he hadn't seen for a long time, and he said, oh, yeah, Jack, meet my photographer, David.
That's cool.
And he said, yeah, take our picture, David. And then who's the surviving Belushi? It's
Jim?
Jim Belushi was here with an improv group.
Oh, he was?
Yeah, and he's like, oh yeah, let's go out back and take some pictures. I saw there's a really cool loading dock back there, and he wanted to go back. But then there are other people who are like, yeah, you can take pictures for the first 3 minutes or the first 3 songs, and you can work from the hall, but you can't be in the opera box. And so anyway, we honor whatever their preference is, and the music hall finds out what that is ahead of time, and I just do whatever whatever they allow, and it's always the most fun when they give me all access, and always the most challenging when they give me like a very short period of time to capture images, but then I have fewer pictures to post-process, so that's an upside. Yeah.
Right.
But you asked about cool people.
Yeah.
So many cool people. So we have the person who immediately came to mind was Justice Sotomayor from the Supreme Court, and she was here as part of the Writers on a New England Stage program
with New Hampshire Public Radio,
as a partnership with New Hampshire Public Radio. And if you've never been to, have you been to those events? They're fabulous.
No, my husband works for them now, though, so I had to get that plug in.
Yeah, so the writer gets to talk on stage, and then there's an interview that you can later hear on the radio, and then afterwards there's usually a book signing on the stage. And Justice Sotomayor was back there being so gracious, and I was photographing the event for NHPR and the Music Hall. And I'm taking pictures, and at the end of the evening, Justice Sotomayor, who had just been so gracious to everybody else, she walked up to me. Like normally they're a beeline for the limo, right? But she walked up to me and she said, thank you for taking all those pictures. Can I have your camera? She took my camera, she handed it to Patricia Lynch, who's the executive director, and she said, David's been taking my picture with everybody else. He should have a picture with me too.
And Patricia took the picture?
And Patricia took the picture, and it's one of my favorite pictures.
That is awesome.
So that was very special.
Great story.
And it's not just the music hall. I also am Strawberry Banks house photographer, and you wouldn't think normally that you'd meet cool performers at Strawberry Bank, but actually there's some fabulous reenactors.
I bet there are.
Yeah, I'm in love with at least 3 of them. But in the winter they do an ice show there, Ice Dance International, and you might think because that's local that those are local skaters with no particular pedigree, but the person who puts that together, Douglas Webster, is the artistic director and founding artistic, runs Ice Dance International. These are world-class people.
Yeah. Is he local?
He lives in Kittery.
Oh, okay.
And he was the head choreographer for Disney on Ice for 10 years.
Yeah.
And he skated with famous people before that. And the people in his company are Olympians, and I've hung out with them and watched them practice, and just recently had a fabulous experience going with them to Jacob's Pillow, which is a dance venue in the Berkshires. It's kind of like the epicenter of the modern dance world in the summer, and it's been around for decades. I think it was founded in the 30s or the 40s, and they did the first ice dance performance on artificial ice at Jacob's Pillow ever.
Wow.
And I got to go there with them, and it was really a fabulous experience. And it wasn't because I'm a cool guy, it's because I had a camera. So that's it, yeah.
But it's neat that gets to take you fascinating places, and you meet interesting people, and for a, what was the term you used earlier? Your sunset career?
Encore.
Encore career. That was right, yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, I can't
That's
play.
awesome.
I'm a terrible golfer. you know, and my wife still works, so.
Has your wife ever, what's it called, commanded one of your drones? Or
She has never.
Piloted.
No, she
No
has not
interest.
flown the drone.
Has
no.
she tried and you won't let her?
No. Oh, no, I'd let her.
Okay.
Do you think I have any control over what my wife?
I've only met her once. I don't know. She seems awesome.
My wife is awesome. She's a state rep.
I read some of her editorials. I liked
She's a highly educated woman. She's
Fantastic.
yeah.
Well, it was a pleasure to get you in front of the camera and talk and hear a little bit more about what you do and how you do it and all that fun stuff. So
Well, thanks for having
we
me.
appreciate
This
everything
is-
you do to make Portsmouth look good all the time. It's awesome.
You know, I pinch myself when I think about, you know, I can get up and there are so many things you can photograph in Portsmouth, and that people pay me to do it usually is just amazing. And then even if they're not paying me to do it, I can go do it. And so it's
That's right.
it's really it's a great place to live, and it's such a great community too. So anyway, thank you very much.
All right, David
Thank
J.
you.
Murray,
Thank
Clear
you.
Eye Photo.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.